So, as most of you already know, building a commander deck is all about synergy. But what if I told you that the best cards for your deck might be hiding in plain sight? Oracle Text isn't just for rules clarification, it's a deck building tool. Whether you're searching for the perfect interaction, overlooked combo pieces, or just better redundancy, understanding how we can use Oracle Text as deck builders can make your deck go from pretty good to seriously optimized. Even cards that on the surface do not look very good can turn your deck from a bracket 2 to a bracket 4 simply because of how much synergy it provides for your deck. So today we're diving in how you can use Oracle Text to refine your searches, find hidden gems, and build a deck that actually does what you want it to, without just relying on what you already know. But first, hello. If you're new here, my name is Deck Driver and we talk about deck building all the time here on this channel. I make a lot, and I mean a lot of commander decks, and oftentimes there are decks and commanders that I have no idea what I'm doing with. This is when I like to use my good old friend Oracle Text. Now, most of you guys are probably familiar with Oracle Text, but let me go over it just in case you don't know. Oracle Text is a tool that you can use on both Moxfield and Scryfall to search up cards that say things on it that might work with your commander. Recently, I talked about the phrase tapped and attacking in Magic the Gathering and how much I loved it. Now, the best way to find cards like that is not just because I know what the cards are and I've seen a ton of cards. There are hidden gems all over the place in Magic the Gathering because there's so many cards printed all the time. Well, a great thing is on Moxfield, you can type in O:, quote unquote, and in those quotes, you can type in anything that you might want a card to say. In this case, you would say O:, quote, tapped and attacking, unquote. Press enter and it will show you every card that says that. Every card that is commander legal that has ever been printed that has those words on it. Now, most of you are probably familiar with Oracle Text and you probably use it consistently when you are building decks. So I don't want to try to say that this is something revolutionary, but what I'd rather the focus of this video be is how much flexibility Oracle Text can offer you. Yes, you might be using Oracle Text, but are you using it to its fullest extent? And is there maybe a couple things that you could learn from this video that might help you optimize just a little bit? Today, we're going to be running a couple of thought experiments on a couple of commanders that I found recently that I think can use Oracle Text a lot. And we're going to talk about how you can use Oracle Text for every single card in your 99 and come out with a deck that is almost 100% synergistic with one another. So we know what Oracle Text is now, but what about it do we actually need to really know? And how much Oracle Text should we really care about? Now, Oracle Text is just one parameter in Scryfall syntax. Oracle Text is specifically something that is written on the card. The keyword phrase tapped and attacking, or hexproof, or trample, or drawing a card, or enters tapped. These phrases are things you can search up, and that is called Oracle Text. Now, there are plenty of other things you can do. You can look up mana cost, you can look up colors, you can look up a lot of different things, and in the description, I have a link to the full Scryfall syntax list. But today, really, you only need to focus on two things, which is card types and card text. Types is going to show you what kind of card type it is, whether you're looking for a legendary creature, whether you're looking for an enchantment, an artifact, a land, or whether you're looking for a certain type of card, whether it's merfolk or zombie. Type is the same thing, T:, or type:, followed up by quotes. And then, of course, what we've been talking about this whole time is Oracle Text, O:, or Oracle:, and then quotes. Quotes aren't 100% necessary, but I like just to use it just so I know exactly what I'm searching up for every single time. Now, synergy. I've been using that word a lot in this video as well. What do I mean by synergy? Well, it's basically cards that work perfectly in the commander deck that you're trying to build itself. Let's say your commander deck really wants you to have a ton of creatures. Well, you would think that a more synergistic piece is something like a creature that allows you to ramp. This card will inherently be more synergistic than an artifact that allows you to ramp because your deck wants creatures. Therefore, it's more synergistic. You can find synergy pieces on things like EDHREC. Now, I don't personally know how EDHREC calculates their synergy. I'm sure there's a way you can find out how they do it, but for me, I like to just look at a card and personally ask myself how well it fits into a deck. By using Oracle Text, you can almost always put in cards that are always synergistic. By refining your search so well and so thoroughly, most cards that you add are going to add some sort of synergy, and if you're diligent enough, are always going to fit in like butter. Now, I mentioned EDHREC. I think EDHREC is a really great tool, but it does have some flaws. Many people are against EDHREC because there are quite a few videos online that talk about how useless it is or how it may mislead some people, and I can somewhat agree on this. I think that EDHREC is a great tool if you already know what you're looking for, in which case usually more people are also running that. However, sometimes with EDHREC's tools and statistics can lie every once in a while, which is why it's not always the best tool to use. But I think in most cases, it's a pretty decent tool if you know what you're looking for. But we can talk more about EDHREC in a different video. Right now, we're talking about Oracle Text. So let's get on to the couple of commanders that I have for you today, and I'll tell you how I would personally use Oracle Text in order to find the perfect cards for decks like this. Now, these thought experiments that we're going to go through are things you can apply to your own commander deck. Especially when using Moxfield as a resource, there's no reason why you shouldn't be using Oracle Text for at least a few of the cards that you add into there. So the commanders that we're going to be talking about today are Anikthea, Hand of Erebos, Kaikar, Wind's Fury, and Galadriel, Light of Valinor. Now, the reason I chose these is that they're relatively different in how they want to approach their deck building, one being an Enchantress deck, the other being a Spellslinger deck, and the last one being more of a Creatures/Elves deck. This is so we have a variety of different strategies and potential Oracle texts that we might need to be looking up. So let's start with Anikthea. Now, these thought experiments are meant to hopefully broaden the horizons of how synergistic you can truly get. What I like to do when I'm first looking at a commander list is look at the commander and see exactly what this commander wants. You don't always have to have a strategy built around your commander, but in this case, that's what we're doing. If you ever want to not have a strategy based around your commander and have your commander be more of a backup or just a value engine, then Oracle Text gets even better for you, as all you're really limited to is the colors, and you can look up any sort of strategy that you want, whether that be tapped and attacking, or creatures entering, or creatures dying. You can go in any strategy you want if the commander is not essential to the strategy itself. But in this case, we're going to be looking at the commanders themselves. So let's get back to it. What I like to do when I first see a commander is list out a ton of different things that the commander might want to do. In this case, it's giving our other enchantment creatures menace. So the first Oracle text that I'll write down is enchantment creatures. Then Anikthea also has an ability which says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you exile up to one target non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard, and you create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie creature in addition to its other types. So there's a lot to break down here whenever Anikthea enters or attacks. So this means that our commander is pretty essential onto the board if we want her to do the thing, which means that we might want to add some protection. So in terms of our Oracle text, we might add in creature gains hexproof, or creature gains protection, or creatures you control gain indestructible. Especially since we already have it in our knowledge, things like Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves might be essential to a deck like this, as our commander needs to enter the battlefield successfully and attack. Let's move on to the next one. Exile up to one target non-aura enchantment from your graveyard. So not only do your enchantments need to be in the graveyard, but they also cannot be auras. This means that in the Oracle text, we need to exclude auras, and we can do that by putting a hyphen right before what we're saying. And the enchantments need to be in the graveyard. This means we might benefit from a lot of ways of either sacking our own enchantments, having ways for our enchantments to put themselves into the graveyard, or adding a little bit of a mill package into our deck. Then next, it creates a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie in addition to its other types. So there's a lot of things we can note on here as well. We're creating a token copy of that card, which means that we could add some token doublers if we ever want to. This means we might not want to add some legendary enchantments, as if we're trying to copy these tokens, we don't want them to be legendary. This also means that these enchantments are entering. So we might want to add something where our enchantments enter the battlefield. So it would be type enchantment and Oracle text enters. Then lastly, they are 3/3 black zombie creature tokens. This means that we can have sort of synergies of any 3/3s entering the battlefield. It might not be super common, but something like an elemental bond is the first thing that comes to mind. This means that we can have draw when a 3/3 enters the battlefield. And the fact that they are black and the fact that they're zombies can mean other things. We can have some sort of tribal payoffs, something like a coat of arms or a banner of kinship. Now, this doesn't mean we have to run all of these things, but it means that we can run all of these things. And now that we have an entire list of Oracle texts, that's when I truly believe the deck building can begin. We have about 7 or 8 different ways that we can go with this deck, and by doing so, we can find so many options. Because you're looking at enchantments entering the battlefield, you can add a lot of removal just in our enchantments. There are plenty of enchantments that when they enter the battlefield, they exile something or they take something away. So our removal package can be in there. We can also have plenty of ways to make mana doublers or have most of our ramp be in our enchantment packages. This means that we can have synergistic pieces that also can be the vegetables of the deck. Vegetables being removal, draw, and ramp that can also supplement our main strategy, which is having enchantments. So Anikthea is pretty cool. And now that we looked at every little piece of text on Anikthea and we have some Oracle text that we can do, this is when the building can start. Now let's look at Kaikar Wind's Fury. Kaikar says, flying, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, then you can sacrifice a spirit to add red mana. So there's plenty of different things that we can do as well. 1, we're casting a lot of non-creature spells. This means that we're probably casting a lot of instants and sorceries. So we can have plenty of payoffs there. Now we can actually copy Kaikar's text and just say whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and we can find plenty of things there. But non-creature usually means in most cases instant and sorceries. Yes, artifacts and enchantments are non-creature spells, but a commander like this is really going to benefit from instants and sorceries, as most of our payoffs are going to be there too. Then you're creating a spirit every single time with flying. This means we can do a lot of stuff. We can really try to focus on the fact that we're making tokens, and we can add more token doublers, similar to Anikthea. We can have plenty of, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, deal damage effects, like Perforos and Impact Tremors. And of course, with flying, we can find a ton of ways to buff up some flying creatures and play more of a beatdown strategy. This is where you would make your list of Oracle texts you might be interested in going towards. Then lastly, you're sacrificing a spirit to add 1 red mana. This means that you almost have a Stormkiln artist in the command zone as well, which can be very powerful, but it also means that we might benefit from skewing a lot more red in the decks that we make. Yes, blue and white are also in this color identity, but the fact that we can make red mana so easily is a really, really good sign. It also means that we might want to stick to 1 to 2 pips on our other colored spells like blue and white, because that red mana can also substitute for colorless mana. And you can refine this search in our Oracle text by just searching up for certain colors and how many pips you want it to be. So again, we have a list of plenty of Oracle text we might be interested in searching up with both card types and what the card says itself, as well as synergy pieces that can also be the ramp, that can also be the card draw, and be the payoffs. I hope you can see now the power of Oracle text and how easy it is to find ways to make very synergistic decks for yourself. With that being said, let's move on to the very last commander in Galadriel, Light of Valinor. Galadriel says, Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that has not been chosen this turn. Then you can add 3 green, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, or you can scry 2, then draw a card. This commander has a ton, and I mean a ton, of Oracle text options that you could find. It could be a token strategy. It can be a all creatures strategy. You can fully play into the alliance effect. You can have flash creatures. You can have a lot. In a deck like this, you might want to skew a bit more green because you can add green mana at any point in time. Because you might be able to add creatures into the deck that make creatures every single turn, you might want a lot of your instant spells to be just green, because then you can pay for it every single turn. So just like we did with Anikthea, let's look through it. We're adding 3 green, which means that a lot of our instants should skew towards green, or any of our flash creatures could skew towards green. Also, we might want to have a lot of under 3 CMC green creatures that can also benefit this strategy, as if we make 1 creature, we practically get another free creature as long as it's under 3 mana. We can put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control. This means we can add a lot of 1/1 counter synergies. We can add cards that double the +1/+1 counters. We can have cards that trigger whenever they get a +1/+1 counter on it that allow us to make even more creatures. And we can have other creatures that let us draw whenever we put counters on it. Then the last ability is scry 2, then draw a card. This is just already a broken ability enough, but there are plenty of ways that we can allow this to help our strategy as well. Maybe we don't need nearly as many card draw effects because our commander can draw and look through so many cards already. Now, the key word in this card is that it hasn't been chosen in a single turn. So a lot of your strategy could revolve around playing on other people's turns, whether that be flash creatures or creatures that make tokens at every upkeep, such as Coma or Illustrious Wanderglyph. This commander itself can go in so many different directions, and Oracle Text can allow you to find ways to make this as good as possible and as efficient as possible. Oracle Text is something that most people are already pretty familiar with, but in case you weren't, I hope that you have now a little bit more knowledge about how you can build and create really efficient and synergistic commander decks. This is the kind of process that I go through when I see most new commanders, especially if I have no idea where to start. Simply by reading down the card and thinking about different strategies and different ways of utilizing this card is really great, and allows you to start building a pretty cohesive deck by finding cards that you might have never even thought of in the first place. And this is where the problem solving really comes into play when it comes to deck building. Finding the best way to find unique and creative ways of searching Oracle Text is going to make you a more flexible and creative deck builder. In something like Kaikar, you can make something that is as niche as a card of making spirits, having a little bit of spirit tribal payoffs. Even in the colors of Jeskai, you can have ways of when creatures die, you get an effect as well, because you will be sacrificing these spirits. The more critical you are in your analysis of a commander card, the more creative your Oracle Text can get, and the more creative, synergistic, and cohesive your commander decks as a whole become. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the comments talking more about Oracle Texts and how you like to utilize it when you're building your own commander decks. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.